Great to have you with us. Your Godzilla of the truth in America. Vanessa Neumann coming up. Asymmetrica. We're going to be talking about Mexico, who is now protecting the U.S. borders more than the Democrats. Who would have ever thought AMLO, the new president, who ran on a platform very critical of President Trump, has now cut a deal with the president and likes him. And he's like, you know what, Mr. President, you're right. Having people just walk into your country illegally, that's probably not a good idea. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you. So here's what AMLO does. AMLO, I like this guy, right? So he says, look, we got jobs here in Tijuana. We got jobs in Mexico. You know, we got all these American factories in here. And we got to pay a higher wage because it's part of the new trade deal. So we can't be screwing our workers like we were. And I'm all for higher wages. I want more oil. I want oil production. So I need workers. So we got all these migrants that come in. Shouldn't have come in, but now they are. And they have to stay on the other side of the border. So they're saying they're here for economic reasons. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to authorize, get this, I'm going to authorize, this is AMLO. I love this guy. I'm going to authorize 4,000 Mexican work one-year visas. I'm going to set up a table in an office and you can come in and apply. And I got 4,000 work visas for a year. So you can come here, you can work, you can stay, you can bring your family, you can get paid, you can get a job because I got all these jobs. And, you know, you're saying you're fleeing for asylum and you're fleeing gangs and all this stuff and you want jobs and that's why you're coming. And so I got 4,000. Let's start there. A month later, you know how many applicants he has? 195. Let's see. 4,000 visas and 195 applicants. Where's the other 3,810? 3,805. Where are they? Oh, no, they don't want a job. They don't actually want to work. They want to come to America and then take advantage of our welfare system. Got it. Otherwise, they'd apply for the Mexican visa because Mexico is safer than where they came from, isn't it? And they have jobs there, don't they? Joining us now to sort all this out, she's an expert on South America. She's the president of Asymmetrica. She's Venezuelan. One day, she might become a household name. I can't tell you why, but I'm just saying she's very involved, and she knows what's going on in South America, in governments and everything else, and she's very astute on this stuff. That's why we have her on every week. Vanessa Neumann, Happy New Year. Great to have you.
Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me on.
So I find this fascinating that this socialist president comes in of Mexico, and because, you know, during the campaign, he blasted Trump and the wall. And now he's like, well, you know what? Wall probably isn't a bad thing. And so he's doing everything he can in order to protect U.S. borders, doing a better job than the Democrats are. And he's handing out these visas because he says, well, yeah, I got all these jobs in Tijuana. I need workers. So let's just give the one work year visas out, and then nobody applies. Go figure.
Well, I can't speak to why they're not applying. They really, really should. So AMLO has had a very practical approach toward the Trump administration. So I live in Washington, D.C., and, you know, the conversations with Jared Kushner and the Mexican ambassador, and there have been a lot of really good conversations and working together. So even though he came in as a socialist, he also came in, don't forget, on economic inclusion, so that the development of the poorer areas of Mexico. So he wants economic development. And what he has done is part of his strategy is also to set up like a free trade zone on the border with the U.S. And also now he's also authorizing to give visas. He's extending kind of like the U.S. H-2A and H-2B visas, where you have the temporary workers, like the farm workers and stuff like that you can bring in from other countries to pluck your fields.
Yes.
He's doing something similar on the southern border with Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, so that they can come and go as long as they work legally in Mexico. So this is what he said, and it's a very, very clever way of doing it. And he's decided that having a good relationship with the U.S. is going to be good for his plans, and it's worked. I mean, the U.S. companies are investing in Mexico and in these sort of economic development plans. And the more he can raise up the poor within his own country, the less problems he'll have with security. So it's, go AMLO. I'm not a big fan in some of his other plans, but in terms of what he's doing, the economic development and what he's doing with the U.S., it's kind of brilliant.
Look, jobs is the great equalizer. It's the great leveler. You get a paycheck and you feel better about yourself and your family. And I've been saying this for years. I mean, it really doesn't matter what the political stripe is, blue, red, or yellow, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, whatever the parties are, PIR, PRI in Mexico. You get a good job for your family. You're making money. You can take care of them. You know what? Life is better for you. And so
exactly.
I think that's what AMLO is trying to do. And he figured out very fast. Look, I got a new trade deal. Why be at odds with U.S.? Let's take advantage of this trade deal. Let's let everybody win. I mean, it was a lose-win. Lose for us, win for Mexico. Lose for us, win for Canada. Now it's a triple win. U.S. wins, Mexico wins, if you abide by it. And that's what he's trying to do. Now, so why did only 195 people apply for the 4,000 visas in Tijuana?
I have no idea. I really don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know whether they don't know about it, or they don't care about it, or they don't trust government institutions. Who knows? I mean, if you want to be kind about it, maybe they think that it's temporary. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't want to stay in Mexico. Mexico does have a big violence problem. I will give them that because of all the cartels. But as we've just been discussing, they're in the middle of a big economic development plan, so they should want to stay there. I think, what we've been seeing with the caravans and everything is, so you do have these people who want to come to the U.S. Don't forget, MS-13 is actually a gang that was actually born in the U.S. It was not born in El Salvador, but it came from the Salvadorans that fled the Civil War in the 80s. And then they became a gang in the U.S. So, once you have people on one side of the border, they tend to draw more, their relatives, their cousins, their uncles, that kind of thing. So, and, they've been told they want to enter the U.S. They've been told things are better on the other side. And I think that the caravans have a number of different issues. The people want to go, and then you have people funding them for their own political reasons as well, organizing them because they think it'll humiliate Trump, to generate more crises of babies at the border, et cetera, that it'll force an issue. And for the cartels, this is the third reason is for the cartels, this is another way of making money. Cartels don't just smuggle drugs, they smuggle people. And it's really getting them across the U.S. border that makes them the big money. Getting them into Mexico is not where the money is for them. So they're like, you want to go to the U.S. is probably what part of the issue that they're dealing with.
Right. Very.
They're being told that they got to get to the other side. When quite frankly, they should stick in Mexico.
Very
Life would be not bad for them there.
See, that's why I love having you on, Vanessa, because you give an insight that we can't figure out. Like, I'm trying to figure out, why don't they take these one-year work visas? And the real answer, well, there's two answers, and you've got probably the majority of it, which is their sponsors get big bucks when they get them over the border, so they're encouraging them not to do it. That's number one. And the second thing is, U.S. does have a welfare state, so if they don't get a job or they don't want a job, they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be taken care of medically, education. They're going to get housing. They're going to get stamps. They're going to be able to survive. Mexico doesn't quite have that level of a benefit welfare system. So I think those two combos drive it down. But it really blows up the argument that the Democrats have with open borders, saying, oh, they just want to come here and get a job. There's jobs available in Mexico. They don't take them. So that doesn't make any sense. We're with Vanessa Neumann. She's the president of Asymmetrica. She's an expert on South America politics. She's Venezuelan. Lots going on in Venezuela now. Give us an update there with their corrupt government.
Oh, gosh. Well, we're waiting to see what happens next week. Next week is a big, big deal for us because we have the president, Maduro, he was sort of elected in a very contentious election back in 2013 when the previous guy, Hugo Chavez, who was an enemy of the U.S., an avowed enemy of the U.S., right, died. Prior to that, we'd been great U.S. allies. And then along comes this guy who's, decides that he wants to form a coalition of all over Latin America to align against the U.S. Then he dies of cancer. He nominates his successor on his deathbed, basically, who's his VP, who's this guy. On January 10th, that presidential term runs out. He had some sort of joke of an election last year that everybody said, that's not an election. You just stole that thing. I mean, nobody participated. It was only his party and, 10 voters, basically. So next week, we're going to try and start getting him out. The international community should say, listen, guys, you're not a real president. And they should recognize then the opposition-controlled National Assembly, and that should start to motivate people to rise up and push him out. So we'll see. But basically, they're a narco state. They're absolutely criminalized. The government is a drug cartel. They traffic so much of the drugs from Colombia, and they are the link between Colombia and Mexico cartels that then bring it into the U.S. and also bring it into Europe. I mean, they literally use the military to traffic drugs. And then they steal money. They've stolen like $500 billion at least from their oil company. The oil company launders the money for Iran. It's a terrible, terrible criminal state, and the people are starving. They have hyperinflation. People can't eat. And we're having infant mortality rate higher than Syria. It's on the people, for them, it's like living in a war zone without the actual firing of the bullets. But the experience of the average Venezuelan is hunger, torture, oppression. It's terrible. So we're trying to get him out starting next week. We're going to start tightening that noose on him.
Let's be sure we get you on every week so we can get updates about what is going on down there. Great analysis, Vanessa Neumann, on Mexico. I really appreciate it. Always great to have you on. Thank you so much. John Fredericks Radio Network.
Thank you.
Vanessa, thanks for being with us. Asymmetrica.
Thank you.
Vanessa, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Vanessa Neumann, Vanessa Neumann, at VANESSANEUMANN. Thank you so much, John. I love being on your show. Always a pleasure.
Well, let's have you on every week because there's so much going on now. At Vanessa Neumann, that's all you have to do. Follow her on Twitter.